just facing markers? That's the first question. The second question relates to the placement of learners. And I heard the MEC is discouraging walk-ins. There are parents who, for a number of reasons, MEC prefer to maybe walk in school and register their learners in January. One of those reasons might be the parents are moving from one city to another for job opportunities and many other reasons. Are those parents going to be considered, or what would be done to such a situation where a parent is forced to move and that decision is made in January? Thanks.
Thank you, Ramodisa. And colleagues, those who are still going to answer questions, we would request you to stand up so that the cameras could be able to catch you as you raise these questions.
Okay, thank you. Madume Bagolo. And Nakibizwa Ananias Ndlovu from Naledi News. MEC, I've got few questions more. One, I'll start with something you mentioned, issue illegal schools. I know when you listen to Power FM, Tabiso Koktane will always say government rata the beauty contest. I know in January will be beauty contesting, shutting down these schools, going from one school to another. After 2 weeks, those schools are reopened, operating. We'll go and do the beauty contest, shutting them down. In 2 weeks, they open, they operate, and they target those vulnerable kids who need placement at any school. And they will go to those fly-by-nights because of they cannot access vets, they cannot access TUT, then they'll end up dealing mobile Ndlovu College, Ndlovu TVT, TVET, Ndlovu what. So I just want to check with the department, MEC, or Halena a permanent solution for these schools. Unlike telling us to tell them not to go. Even if we do, they still go. The permanent solution from the department. Another one, a permanent solution, got this issue happy, it will start in January. Colleagues will agree with me. The colleague Lotsena, Bahanaka report and Rona as media, we must intervene, call Mr. Malindi, call whoever. How can the permanent solution for the department? I heard you, MEC, when you said parents must arrange with the school to get this thing. But we know for December, January, I am a report. So I just want to check with the department again for a permanent solution to such thing, because it's we get this thing. And the last one, MEC issue the matriculants in this room very clear.
Greetings, everyone. Let me observe, all protocol observed. My name is Lerato Moyo from Sechaba. Mine is just to find out that, considering that today is the 3rd of December, which is International and National Disability Awareness Day, I just want to find out what is it that the department is doing to address the issue of learning difficulties, considering that I heard that you spoke about the collaboration with social development in terms of other challenges. However, I just want to understand how the active involvement of psychometrists and educational psychologists. Thank you.
Thank you, Ntate Lindi. My name is Obake Maje from Town Daily News. I hope you will catch that correctly this time around. It's not Town Daily Times, but it's Taung Daily News.
Oh, thank you.
All right. My question goes to MEC. MEC, you mentioned that you have experienced some challenges during this national school certificate examinations. I'm not sure whether I heard you correctly. You mentioned there was, or there might be cheating scandals in some various schools. Can you kindly highlight which schools were involved and also what will be the repercussion and how is the department planning to ensure that we don't experience this anymore, because it seems year in, year out, there will be a cheating scandal. You'll remember last year, Viola High School was involved and there are no outcome regarding the result of the disciplinary actions that were taken there. So if you also have answers on that, please just share with us what are the outcomes of Viola High School. And the other question is, you mentioned that all 300 schools were chosen to be taught in mother tongue. I want to understand the criteria that the department has used, and if you are at liberty, you can share us per district, how many schools per district that this will be implemented, and also are we going to see this project being fully fledged across the province in near future? And then my last question, you did not, on the issue of special schools, MEC, there are some challenges at Christiana School for the Blind. I'm sure you are aware that the caretaker there is now facing a rape case after allegedly raped one of the learners. And there are also allegations of funds embezzlement. Just ensure that you look into that, MEC. We also have MMC Bitlwani Special School in Taung, where there are some allegations that employees there are not being paid. So please just make sure that you check on that. And also I want to applaud you that you are one of the MECs that are trying their best to make sure that our government delivers. Thank you.
Thank you, Remaje.
Greetings in the house, it's Jakes from Khatling FM.
Oh, Jakes, thank you.
MEC, you've mentioned that there are 6 schools that didn't reorder the stationery, which is a good thing. I really like it. But out of 1,400 and something that really are on a public ordinary school, I would suggest that you maybe visit those schools, let them teach them their blueprint. How did they really manage that? Because you mentioned that the department is really budget constrained. And that's really a worrying factor, that if you really need to save some money, and you can learn from those people that have really not reordered, they can teach you, and that would be replicated amongst all the other schools, so you can save money in the future. That is my take. Thank you.
Thank you, Jakes. I think there were 5 people who raised questions. So we'll regard this as the first round of questions. I know even other colleagues are eager to raise their questions. But now we'll hand over to our principals to respond. I know that there's a question of the video. Yeah, the MEC can come here.
No, thank you very much for the questions, colleagues. I'm going to be brief as much as possible and also allow my colleagues also to assist where necessary, because now I believe in principle in dictatorship. So they must be allowed actually to participate in this particular platform so that you hear their voices. Some you know only their names, you don't know them personally. Now today you'll know them personally. The first question from Ntate Modise, the reason for visiting marking centers. Remember, as the Department of Education, we are not yet done with this academic year. There are phases. The beginning of the year is the reopening. We are opening schools. In the middle, that's where now learners are starting to write examinations. After writing examination, we are busy with incubation, with preparation for the final examination. So it's the phases. Now we have reached the final phase, where as the executive authority, as much as I've managed to give all the learners who were writing examinations from grade R until grade 12, the necessary support together with the educators. The very same markers out there are the very same educators. They also want to hear my voice, to check whether I get some malebone and everything. It's not going to be easy for them. It might look as if it's going to be easy. Remember, those particular educators, already they are emotionally drained, but they have to finish the race. By finishing the race, it means that they must go there and make sure that they mark those particular papers. And there must be credibility when it comes to the results after all. So I'm just going there as a colleague to give them a moral support. I'm just going there to give them support, to say that I'm with them. And expectation is that they must do things right. As much as the learners are writing examinations, there are rules there. Even in terms of marking centers, those particular markers are expected actually to behave in a certain way. They must comply. So I'm just going to go there just to remind them, so that they represent us well as the Department of Education. Now I'm one person who believes in collectivism when it comes to a principle. So I'm with them. As much as I've been visiting schools when they were writing examination, Lebone, they deserve that particular visit to show that as a department, we are one. We are team education, and they must make us proud. There was an issue of placement of schools. Yes, you are right. There's going to be walk-ins, obviously. That is why I'm using this particular platform to say that rather going to the schools where already they have closed. Remember, at the beginning of the year, there's a opening of the registration of this particular learners from April. We are giving them from April until September. And you are right. Some reasons that are really you cannot avoid them. Like you have already indicated that you are forced, that you must relocate at the last minute and so on. We still maintain that as a Department of Education, we uphold the Constitution of South Africa. We are the custodians of the very same Constitution. We are not going to leave any child behind. So we are encouraging them rather go to the districts to seek assistance there, rather than going to a particular school and then you know already those particular schools, they don't have space. So that is my encouragement, because walking in also, it has a potential actually to disrupt when we are reopening in terms of administration. And we don't need any disruption during that January. We want a smooth process where everything goes according to our plan. That is why we are encouraging them, and we are also advising them to say that rather go to the districts, because we have created hubs where these particular learners are being placed there temporarily. Then from there, we are going to make sure that we place them in different schools where there are still spaces. But we guarantee them that there is no going to be a child who's going to be left out, because we'll be contravening the Constitution. Ananias Rendlofu, illegal schools. There's no such as beauty contest. You know, one day I just want to invite you to be the MEC just for 5 days. You'll understand the conditions that we are working under. That is not beauty, we're not beauty contesting. We don't have time to beauty contest. We are doing what is right. Is the issue of compliance. And our priority is to make sure that we protect those particular kids or learners from those particular illegal schools. We do have a permanent solution. The permanent solution is very clear. We know you have to follow proper processes in terms of registration. We are not living in a lawless country here. We are guided by policies as the Department of Education. That is why at one particular point we'll be left with no choice. It means that we must engage with the legislature, because they are the law makers. We must approach them to advance, to say that now we are tired of closing today, tomorrow is in Ndlovu, TVET, there tomorrow is Motsumi, and so on. Let's find ways of making sure that finally these people must be arrested. Maybe it will show the seriousness of us to say that we are not going to tolerate any illegal. Because the problem, look what happened last in Gauteng. There was a school, ngwana o tsene sekolo from grade 1 and grade 12, for close to 12 years. After 12 years, it's a private school. Ha ngwana tshotse a kry-e certificate, ke gone go realize yang gore actually that particular school is not legally registered. It means that we have wasted time. What is going to happen to that particular child? It means that we have destroyed that particular child. We have contravened the rights of that particular child. So the owners, they deserve to be arrested actually, for us to make an example, to say that we are when it comes to issues of education, because we are talking about future of our future leaders of tomorrow. So we can't afford that. But as the department will continue to be to contest until we close them all. Like a bit contest, because the aim is to close those particular schools, and we are not going to tolerate them. That is why this thing, it needs a collective effort. Tina alone as the Department of Education, because all over the country or all over the province. But through your assistance, by exposing these illegal schools, at least we'll be able to register progress in terms of closing those particular schools. So, withholding of reports, you are right. Already we are going to release a circular to the principals, urging them, pleading with them. Ngwana ha phoso, and he or she cannot be punished because of motsadi a palelwa ke go patela school fees. And we are not saying motsadi ba ska ba patela school fees, and we encourage bagolo go patela school fees gore go nne easier for dikolo gore ba ska ba tshwara di report, because in most instances the reason behind that ke yone issue ya go tshwara ya go sa patele school fees and so on. So we'll release a circular to all the schools across the province. Go ba bolella gore it's an instruction. They must not withhold those particular reports, and through your assistance, ke tsa gore re ka kgona go thusega gore kgone go intervene where there are some parents we are encountering that particular challenge. Class of 2024 performance. For now, I cannot preempt. Remember, when you talk about results, they must be credible. So, but I must remind colleagues here, from the beginning of this academic year, as a department, we have our own target. And we are very clear to say that our target is between 86% and 90%. Agree, Sister Boss? That is our target. And the reason why we targeted that particular percentage is because for the last academic year, we obtained 81.6, which actually pushed us from position 5 to position 4. So we are confident that by attaining or by obtaining that 86, between 86 and 90, we'll be able to move from position 4 to position 3. So let's wait for the 15th. The 14th, it will be the national release of results. Then the following day, it will be the provincial one. So let's hope for the best, but I'm confident. We have tried as a department our level best of making sure that we provide all the necessary support to our children and our educators. There was also a question from Lerato Moyo, International Disability Day. This one I'm going to leave it to Ntate Viola, is the relevant DDG, just to come and outline to say what this is what we are planning, these are our plans. Because when we talk of disability, remember we do have our special schools. And in terms of support, consistently, so we have been supporting our special schools. By the way, there is a Tlamelang special school. There is a school for the deaf special school. There's school for the blind in Dr. RSM. They are writing NSC, those particular schools. So, get Viola to come and just to give you a briefing regarding that particular issue. Irregularities from Ntate Obakeng Maje. I must indicate that the issue of Revelo School, it was long closed, Reobakeng. The verdict is out, Remvola, regarding those particular learners. As I'm speaking to you, I'm dealing with the appeals. The alleged teachers who were participating in this whole process together with the principal. So they've appealed. They went through disciplinary processes. We have concluded those particular disciplinary processes. But Mola wa ba letla, gore if they're not happy about the verdict, the outcome, they are entitled to appeal to the MEC. So I'm still applying my mind. Before next week, that issue of Rivilo will be closed. My office will communicate with you to give all that particular information, because remember, it was dealt by National, not us. That is why it took us long to conclude on this particular matter. So there was a decision regarding that particular matter. So we'll give you all the report, all the necessary report regarding that particular matter so that you find closure. Irregularities, we are not going to tolerate them. That is why before the examinations, we are having pledge signing, where the grade 12s actually are signing a pledge, committing to say that they are going to adhere to the regulations of examinations. That is why these particular learners, before they write the examination, as the Department of Education, we also capacitate them in terms of information, in terms of the do's and the don'ts. They know by it. That is why even before they write examination, expectation is that invigilators must make sure that they read out the instruction to give them time to do what is right. So it's not like abaitsi. So the same applies to this one. They don't differ from those by the very same thing. And there must be consistency. Consistency must prevail at all times. As such, follow processes, investigations, by the way. There's going to be investigations. We are going to rely on investigations. After investigations, that's where now we can issue out the verdict regarding that particular matter. But as long as the investigations are not concluded, those particular learners for now, they're not going to be given their results at the end of the year until the investigations are concluded. That's serious, how serious we take examinations. And the 300 schools, mother tongue, the criteria. Remember, this is still a pilot project. We have to test it. We can't at a go berere all the 1,400 and something schools across the province, but this thing, if it fails, it means that the whole system, it will collapse. So it's a pilot project. That is why we have selected only, we have sampled only 300 schools to test it. Whether will it work for us, whether will it benefit our learners. Like for example, there are many people who are saying, who still insist, they even went further to say that, I don't think those particular children will pass. But I still maintain the reason why math and science, we are not getting the percentage that we want. The reason why, in terms of even enrollment of the learners, candidates who are doing math and science, it is because of the issue of language barrier. They don't understand English other than hani re ba ruta ka Setswana. So why not testing it? But already there is Eastern Cape. It used to be number 9. As we speak, last we were shocked. Eastern Cape, regardless of their challenges that they are confronted with, from that particular position, so it means that that thing, it works for Eastern Cape. So why not trying it? In terms of distribution, remember this particular responsibility, Rona, from provincial, we cannot dictate terms to our districts because the districts are the ones that are delivering service delivery. So we were guided by the district to say that we were thinking, testa whether this thing, a mother tongue, will work for us. So they were distributed according to the district. For example, Bujanala. You can't expect Bujanala to have the same numbers of school as your Dr. KK. Whereas we know the size, Bujanala is the biggest district. But we'll provide you with that particular information, specific information to say that from these are the schools, from this particular district, these are the schools, so that we arm you with information. Special school, you did indicate the school for the blinds. I must confirm that indeed I received a report of the allegations. I must indicate that a case has already been opened. A case has already been opened as the Department of Education, as a caring department, because our priority is our learners. And when it comes to special schools, that is why that particular caretaker immediately was suspended. And then, but we have to know that we have to allow molao. But as much as in molao nyalo, Lorna, as the Department of Education, will do our own investigations, and then we'll conclude on this particular matter as a matter of agency. Sibitlani employees not paid. I was not aware. I've just engaged with the relevant DDG. He informed me of some dynamics there. I'll do follow-ups. Ga kgonagale gore go nne le titjhere o e leng gore o committee le go ruta bana ba rona. As a department, be re mo faila dismally. Re palelwa ke go mo fa salary ya gagwe. So I'm going to follow up on that particular matter today, and then you will get the report before the end of today to check how best are we dealing with this particular matter. Because in most instances, because of the issue of budget constraints, remember we are monitored by Treasury and Prima's office. Whatever post that is being advertised before the appointment, it must go through that particular process where we submit to check whether do we still have sufficient budget to have that particular post or not. But if the teachers are already there, I believe that there's no excuse for those particular teachers to be paid, unless if maybe they are under HGB or whatsoever. But I'll do investigations, I'll do my background check and intervene as a matter of agency. And thanks for that particular information. Then the last speaker on this particular matter, it was, is Jack, ne? Yeah. I'm in agreement with you 100%. Indeed, 6 out of 1,000 something is nothing. But it's something for us because at least it means that there are schools that are doing something about this thing, yeah, the retrieval of textbooks. Can it mean that they've managed to retrieve all those particular textbooks? That is why there's no reordering or whatsoever. I'm in agreement with you, I accept your proposal. We must use those particular schools to teach, to share the good practices in order for other schools also to copy from them, so that come next year when we are having this kind of a briefing, we'll be able to say that at least now we are 500 schools. By Longore, they have excelled in terms of this retrieval of the textbooks in their different schools. We'll definitely visit those particular schools. We'll definitely make sure that those particular schools assist other schools in making sure that they do what is right come next year in preparation. I believe only those particular questions is only one outstanding question. Yeah, the disability, International Disability Day. So I'm going to allow Viola just to come and respond to such. It was a question regarding today's is International Disability Day. Now check the active involvement by the Department of Education in that particular regard. Thank you. Viola.
All right, thank you, Honorable MEC. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and our colleagues from the media. I just want to indicate that indeed our relationship with the Department of Social Development is very strong, in that we rely on them in terms of the psychologists and the other therapists that are normally utilized in such activities and even in our schools. So our involvement in terms of the day per se is directed to the activities that are highlighted in terms of our sister department and or what is happening around. By last week already, we were in another activity where we sat with a group of the disabled disability fora in Klerksdorp, wherein we were talking on a host of other issues, including the International Day of Disabilities and celebrations across our province. So indeed we are involved and we are participating, and we are also reliant on getting even enough support from our sister department. Maybe if the MEC can allow me, I just want to remind the colleagues, when we talk about this mother tongue-based bilingual education and so on, you must always remember that these are exciting times for our province actually, because what has happened in other language groups is that the learner has been taught in the mother tongue from the time he or she started school up to the time when he is being tested or examined in all levels up to and including grade 12. So what is coming to us now is that we are saying, let it not just be LOLT. You might have heard about LOLT. We are saying, let it also be LOLT and assessment. So in other words, the learner must be taught in mother tongue, but later must also be assessed in the mother tongue. And if we can all understand that, you'll see that we are then placing the Setswana or the isiXhosa or isiZulu speaking learner at a stronger advantage, or perhaps at a more equal advantage to what the Afrikaans and the English learner has been placed has been advantaged of, because this child started in grade A, grade R in Afrikaans, went up to and including grade 12, and being assessed in the mother tongue, and that gives you a much better edge going forward. Thank you, MEC. Sorry, MEC, maybe I can just emphasize that issue of the, and where we are relying on you. When a parent relocates from another area, sometimes due to job opportunities and so on, the challenge is not that we cannot place the learner. The challenge is that the parent identifies a school. Let me give you an example in Potchefstroom. The parent says, I want my child in Potchefstroom Girls. And the department says, Poch Girls is full. Rona, we want to place your child in a school, but the parent wants the school. And that is where the problem comes. And in many cases, the parent becomes very unhappy, because we are identifying through the placement hubs that we have established in the districts. We identify a school where there is a space where we can then refer the child. And that's where we need your assistance to ensure that parents understand that our intention is to place a learner in a school. But the parent wanted in the school because the parent has got a preference. But when the preference has got no space, then we focus on placing the learner in a school. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. I see that we have exhausted all the answers. We just had the first round of questions. We will be moving now to the second round of questions. Today is your day, media houses. We called this day specifically to ensure that we answer all the questions that we are raising. So we know that sometimes you'd find in our media groups, there will be some statements about education, but we then decided that no, let us just have this specific day, especially for you. I saw the hand of Date Motlhaping. Is it Jake's? Oh, it's not Jake's. Oh, Jake's is that side. Yeah, and you, my brother, and Oba King, and then Puseletso le. Yeah, in that way, we can have, that will be our second round of questions.
Thank you very much. Ndata Malindi tla kemelle tle ba re bone.
Yes, yes. Go botlhokwa o tlhagelle mo TV.
Leboga. Right. Lastly, or maybe a follow-up for the last time MEC on illegal schools. These are independent schools, if I heard you correctly. Are you empowered legally to intervene in these schools? One of our colleagues was asking, you closing them in January, later that month or in February, they reopen again. Are you legally empowered to intervene in those schools? Secondly, about the 3 schools that will be opened next month, that's next year, in January. I wonder how is this going to address, MEC, the school infrastructure backlog that you are still battling as the department? And how is it also going to address the issue of overcrowding? 3 is not enough, it's a drop in an ocean. Is this going to address those challenges, the school infrastructure backlog and overcrowding? And yeah, no, let me take those 2 for now.
For now.
For now.
Yeah, and the kajeko ke letsatsi la rona re modise re ka ipoeletsa re tla. So our principals are here. Yeah, o tla boa. No, thanks Remdisi.
My name is Tebogo from Network Life News. MEC, I think my colleague from the other side beat me to the question, but I would like to expand on the question of learners with special needs. Considering the importance of inclusive education and ensuring every learner thrives, what are the measures that your department is implementing to support learners with ADHD, and other learning difficulties in the mainstream schools? Because I want to believe it's not all teachers that are capacitated to deal with these cases in our schools. So what is the department doing with regards to helping? Because I believe that particular learning barrier is the one that also contributes to poor performance. And then the second question is with regards to, every year it becomes now a culture that during examinations we have service delivery protests. So I was just asking MEC there if when the provincial leadership sits for the provincial Lekgotla, is the MEC submitting his views there regarding service delivery, because now it disrupts examinations. Learners tend to not write because of this protest. Thank you.
Thank you, Tebogo. I saw another hand, is it okay? Puseleto and Lerato and
Ke Puseletso gape from Khosi Media. Ke nagana ya di illegal schools ke yona the main problem. I remember early this year I called Ntate Elias Malindi about one particular school in Moses Kotane. And I had parents calling me constantly ba li worried because bana ba bona ne ba sa kry di results. And I just wanted to find out what is the MEC going to do about these schools, because ka January gape they're going to experience the same problem. Ke na le di details tsa school if MEC
yeah, ka gopola o Puseleto ra ne ra bua le mme Pule. Ebile o ka re se seng ne se tsenela ko tlong se ne sa tswalwa mo yona that area of Moses Kotane, but re tla kry-a di details tseo tse tsotlhe ma. Yes, also Rato.
Thank you so much once more. Mine is still the same as the first question. I'm not satisfied with the answer that I got from Ms. And my reasons are social development is more involved in the social issues. And with regard to, and I know they do really render awareness campaigns, but with regard to learning disability, because mine is more on the learning disability, is more of a psychological matter. And with the background that I have in psychology, social work, and psychometry, I've been doing my own research. We are lacking, specifically in Rustenburg, with regard to the educational psychologists, actually Black educational psychologists, especially in the private. It's mostly whites, and I believe that to cater for the needs of a Black child, there is a need to have more Black educational psychologists in order to attend to the needs of a Black child. So basically what I'm talking about, it's not necessarily only special schools, but I've had an incident where there's a lady who was struggling to get the child proper placement because of they couldn't assess. She was struggling to get somebody to assess the child to be placed in a relevant or irrelevant, it's I don't know, in a relevant school that will cater for the I consider mainly learning difficulties than
use the
anything
mic.
else. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, Jakes otla tswalela. Sure.
All right, Bagetsi ke a dumedisa. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. MEC, ke go batla re ke go tlisa gaufi yana mo Rustenburg. Ke moduli wa Rustenburg, ke utlwe bua ka Miriti Secondary. I've been there as a teacher and as a facilitator and then as a journalist again to check what's happening. So I walked around Rustenburg for the past 3 years, I think, ka nako tsa di January when people ba ilo tsa di registrations tsa bone, and I would see gona le kganya le nngwe ya gore people would be on the list and then gote bana ba tlo tsewa and then they close the list and say it's okay, we've got 20 people, we are full. But the same people ha batla, because I've interacted with them, interaction and then engaged with them.
why are you guys here lella mo sekolong? Because ba re go tletse. They said, no, we've been called. We've been told that the number 20 people, we are here. We just need to get confirmation. But not that's happening. People, ba rekisa di space, I don't know how possible is that. Maybe you'll check on that. How possible is it for o re emetse sekolo go tsena ko Greenville mo toropong? When you get there, spaces it's like someone else, but they told you to come. Fine, ke feta mo go yone, it's okay. Meriti Secondary, I've taught life orientation ko le Setswana, if I remember well. That school has also sa ntlha sa di-cancerism. It has been there for a very long time. If I can tell you this year, they had it outside. I know maybe it's not enough your business outside the school, but they took it from the school up until outside. It was almost like a tribalism now. If you don't know, let me tell you. Ke Setswana, ke Xhosa, ke Maxhosa le Batswana. So we are having that kind of a problem. Ko Miriti, because Miriti are those two groups. I'm not saying other groups are not there, but the two groups that dominate the school, ke Maxhosa and Batswana people speaking people. So it's not something sad maloba ya ntse re utlwa gote Miriti balwa. No, it has been there for a very long time. So I don't know the solution thereof. I'm thinking, ke utlwile o bua ka grade 12, so you took the grade 12 from there to Montville. What about those who are staying there? Because they are also writing. Maybe the question would be, what is the solution for everyone? Bana ba Miriti Secondary, ko Riverside, ko Extension 1, for them, even next year. Because these people are experiencing trauma again. And then they are not, qualified for psychologists and help those. But believe me, they are watching these things happening. Because believe me, I've been there. They go with them, go school. And the infrastructure is just something else. MEC, Sidika Sabo Janal, Selinos. Maybe you can choose. I've been to council meeting in Rustenburg, University. Even now, we are trying to build and everything. Maybe just to get the clarity on that. Rustenburg is just growing every day. But Janala at large is just growing over 500,000. It's just too much. Check on that. When are we getting a university? If not a university, let me tell you, Orbit College itself, Fields College. Fields College every year, people want to be there. Everyone wants to be there. You know why? The education part of it, they want to be there. But the problem is overcrowded, like you are saying. Orbit also is overcrowded. You go to Mohwasa also, it's overcrowded. So our orbits are already overcrowded. So I don't know the solution on that in terms of maybe, I don't know, placing, because I heard you talking about placing everyone. But again, the question is, we've got overcrowding. Let's say Pokem, because we are just more Pokem. For example, Bafuking High. But now Fuking High, a batata school. Somebody from Poking, Abasa Konokira space. I'm asking the question, Hore, what is the preference, if there is such as a preference, to say Nafa, school Sakaki Seli, but I cannot go there because it's overcrowded or it's almost filled. The last question, sorry colleagues. The result, man. Minister Abu Maloba, who changed the Kanzara. Maloba na bua ka gore ha dio tseo di invade privacy ya bana le se ka bala di kwala mo dipampiring he jano gape di buile gape ke batla go utlwa mo go ena MEC gore wa re di tla tswa mo dipampiring khotsa nya ba ga itse ke ya leboga. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Ke a bona gore moya wa tsena o tshwanetse re tsene moya ya no ebile ra utlwa ya no gore ebile wa rona o moruta bana gape o mo lefapheng o siame. Yes, ngwana rona ga wa timela buruaka. Yes, Remaje.
Oh, thank you, Remalindi. There's a follow-up question to the MEC. MEC, I requested you to give us the names of the schools that are implicated in cheating scandal and also how many learners are involved. Thank you.
Okay, Bra James, Jakes, Kwana Wabofela.
Ke kopa ho botsa ya bofelo MEC, as a parent, ke na le concern ya gore most of the English medium schools in Rustenburg di pateletsa bana go etsa Afrikaans as their second language. Whereas re Batswana fa re le bantsi, and some of majority of the learners ba tswa ko metseng ba batla a better education, but go na le kgatelelo ya gore bana ba tshwanetse ba etse Afrikaans as the second language.
Okay. No, thank you.
Madume gape Patlhompegi, Jakes, Gatling FM. Kanya illegal schools. Bila le fokolela illegal le kare ke le fokolela buegileng thata mo ngwaga. Jaanong MEC go utlweng kgatelo o bua ka gore setšhaba se thuse ka gore ba bege dikolo tseo di bulwang di se mo molaong. Jaanong ke be ke ipotsa gore wena MEC rona re le setšhaba re tla bega jang, re bega ko kae? A lena le plan na lena le ko eleng gore go ka nna le 24-hour hotline e leng gore ba tshwenyegileng gore dikolo tse di tswale ka gore di senyetsa bana future ke re kutlo ba gore go na le tsene sekolo dingwe ga le 12 gona nong ke fa ga go itse gore ana isa ga ke ntseng jang. Jaanong a go nne le yona 24-hour hotline e leng gore e tla thusa gore mang a kgone go bega nako nngwe le nngwe gore re fetse kganye a di illegal ka gore re batla setšhaba se se rutegileng se ka nnete le gona. Ne ke re le rona ga e le gore le batla maele mathuso rona re teng le la ke teng re tla bua go thoko. Ke a leboga.
Ke a leboga Jakes. Ya ka ne re ikaeletse gore re tlo nna le tsona dipuisano tse ke lona letsatsi le la dipuisano tse wa bona maele a tshwanang le a o tlhagang ka ona Jakes re teng gore re utlwelle ke a bona gore go matsogo a ntse a tlhagella ga ke itse gore panel ya ka e kgonne go ka nouta dipotso tse tsotlhe gore re ka kgona gore re tsenye dipotso tse ding tse di latelang ke tla kry-a advice re ka ema fela bikinyana fela go se nene fela re tla kry-a an advice ya gore can we still take further questions or we go to answers. But I saw there are 2 hands. Can't we just maybe allow you to come on the next round with that question? And then we give my brother there for this time. Ne? Yeah. Panel fela santane e nguna fela e discussa something fela bikinyana. Mokruta maga re ka tseya gape potso e nngwe kgotsa re to the answers. I see there's a hand that came from that side. Can't we just allow your questions, we'll move them to the one last round, I think so. But this is an opportunity for us, to engage, and we also welcome those inputs that you are posing to us as a department. Yes, my brother, you can come and introduce yourself. I don't know whether did you manage to introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Kaya Mzanza. I'm from the Sports Eye
I didn't see you, Kaya.
in Potchefstroom. My concern is on homeschooling, MEC. I just want to check on the issue of homeschooling. Do you leave it at the discretion of the parents to determine the future of the child? Because now, since after COVID, there are many learners who are now on homeschooling. So if they are missing somewhere during their academic life, are you in a position to check whether when the child was withdrawn from main schooling, where did that child end up? And is it possible for you to be in a position to check how many of these kids actually complete their schooling year? Thank you.
Thank you, Kaya, from Sports Eye in
Yes.
Potchefstroom, Dr. KK.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let me see. Doc will be the first one. I see it's getting heated up now. We are at another level now.
Yeah, no. I just want to say to my colleagues from the media, I didn't know you are so much interested in education. And you actually know a lot. I thought that you were a lot of sports people and so on. I'm really surprised. Let me start off, Osilerato, just to indicate, I'm sorry that I did not reach you in terms of my response, but I'm glad that you came back. The issue of the of therapists, and especially of the education psychologists, it's a major problem. It's not only limited to us in the sector. Look, in the sector, we have, I think, less than 8 education psychologists. And I think 2 of them are black. One of them was placed here in Bojanala. She then requested to move to the head office. I've forgotten the name, but it's a doctor somebody. Now, what are we doing as a department? There are 4 schools that we have identified as support schools. In other words, the other special schools may tap into these schools to get services related to the disabilities that they are having in their schools. And those services would include materials like assistive devices and so on, but would also include therapists. Now, if you are in Bojanala, you would have a school called Mierhof, where such a school is regarded as a school that is assisting other schools, special schools, including, what has happened to my mind? Not a special school, the full service schools. Now, the other schools, your public ordinary school, may also tap in here, because in your public ordinary school, you may still have a learner who needs attention. But then you may have a situation where the circuit or the district does not have an official who is appropriately qualified to intervene in that area. So what will happen is that this school will then go to Mierhof to request for support. If you go to Dr. KK, then they would also have a school that they go to look for support. If you go to RSM, they will go to Sibitwani, and if you are in Ngaka, then they go to Atamela. And those are the areas, the schools that would be having many therapists, not necessarily an education psychologist, because sometimes we may not even have the education psychologist, which explains why there is a long waiting list of learners in special schools, because they take time to be assessed, because these learners must be assessed by an education psychologist, and as a result it does delay. So I really take your point that maybe we are really in short and perhaps also in need. And the emphasis I was making with the sister department was that indeed we do rush to them to get more support in terms of other therapists, because with us there are other dynamics. When the therapists come to us, they are employed differently from when they are in social development services. So they stay with us maybe for a month or 3, and then later they say to us, but I'm not getting these benefits, I would want to move back. And we continue to replace, advertise, replace, and so on. But we have what is known as LSP. And this is a program that focuses more on centers in our various communities. And this program also assists these learners who are in those communities, in those centers, to be rehabilitated. I'm not sure whether I'm using the right word, but to be prepared and be made ready to go back into the normal stream system. So indeed, there are many activities that we are involved in the province at the moment, Honorable MEC and colleagues. We have 3 groups made up of 6 individuals who are supporting the districts. We are still requesting national DBE to give us the 4th group, so that then we are able that when there is need for that kind of service, then we can just tap into these ones to go and assist. But I would really appreciate more involvement of you, especially after the conference, where we can look at your research and check how your research is also advising us and touching on the things that we are supposed to be doing. Indeed, education is a sector where all of us have to be involved. Maybe before the MEC comes here, I just want to say this. We don't want to close schools. Maybe colleagues are getting us wrong with, you think we want to close schools? No, we don't want to close schools. We want the schools to register. And this is what the MEC said. The schools must register. Now here is the problem. So long as the schools don't register, you then have a school which is operating without having appropriately qualified educators. Which goes back to what Minera said, to say it's a waste of time for our children. They are seated there, but necessarily they are not being taught by people who are appropriately qualified. When an independent school is being registered, Umalusi expects that 80% of the teachers in the school should be registered with SAIS. And as soon as they are registered with SAIS, then you are convinced that they are appropriately qualified. But if the independent school operates and it does not have the 80% registered of SAIS, then you know that maybe they have just picked up a group of friends and then they have registered it as a school. And that is why we always say to them, come and check with our unit that is registering the schools. Now, about home education, when a parent applies for home education, he applies for his own child to be taught at home. Now, he also applies like they apply in independent schools. But remember, don't confuse home education with independent schools. Because with independent school, with home education, you rely on the parent submitting the application for this child. And the parent indicates the reasons for that. And then the unit goes to the family or to check if indeed it is one child that is going to be taught from home. Because in some instances, what the applicants do, they apply and they say to you, there are 5. Once it is like that, it's no more homeschooling, it becomes an independent school. And you therefore want to discourage that. But indeed, we do have a group that we have registered. At the moment, we have 169 home education registered learners in the province. We do visit those centers or those families or those houses to check if things are being done properly. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Only few questions left. At least Dr. Viola managed to respond to some of the questions of illegal schools, the issue of homeschooling, and the issue of learner disability, what. He did manage to touch on those particular issues. It's only few. Ramotlapi Mudise, I believe that you were covered by Viola regarding the issue of the illegal schools, to say that we are empowered. I am empowered. We are empowered as the Department of Education because we are the custodians when it comes to institutions of basic education. That is why Refilwe Matla, Ahore, studies are complying. We've got all rights to close them. But we are not only closing those particular schools. In some schools, we are trying to intervene, like already Dr. Viola has alluded to say that we are trying to assist them to comply, because it's a matter of compliance, so that when that particular learner complete the grade 12, that particular certificate e be le gore se legit sa kgona go mo thusa going forward, because you have to register. By registering, it means that now Umalusi will be in charge and so on. So I think it is covered. You raise a concern to say that 3 is nothing. But trust me, that 3 schools, new schools, it can accommodate more than 2,000 learners, all in all. So you would imagine, for those particular more than 3,000 learners, since ba le ko kae, ntse ba tsenela ko kae. So I understand your point. You are right to say that as much as we are being challenged with the issue of backlog and so on, but I still maintain that there is a lot. It says something. It shows our people out there to say that as a department, we remain committed in making sure that we address all those particular challenges. But I must indicate that actually, for next year, our plans, all in all, it will be 10. Yo Mukala, I've mentioned it in Setlagole. Yo Tlachaming, I've mentioned it in Tlachaming. Yo Chaneng in Bujanala. Yo Khasitsi, we secondary school in Bujanala. Tedimuso primary school in Ngakamudirimulema, Muipan. Yo DP Kotleng primary school in Ngakamudirimulema in Mafikeng. Yo Mpebana secondary school in Bujanala in Koster. Khosi Shope in Ngakamudirimulema in Setlagole. Sarafin, I've mentioned it in Dr. KK in Tlokwe. Munchusi secondary school in Dr. RSM in Morokweng. Those schools are our targets. All in all, there are 10. So we are trying our level best that before the next financial year, those particular schools should have been handed over to our communities so that we reduce the issue of overcrowding. But I still maintain that still that 10 is not enough. That is why as the department we have opted to another interventions whereby where we are experiencing challenges of overcrowding. We have came up with a concept, classroom brick mortar, where now we want to get rid of these mobile classrooms. But we know we are fighting a losing battle, because we'll build those particular classrooms. After building them, there's going to be some schools that are storm damaged. We are forced actually to place some mobile classrooms there as part of your interventions. So that's how we are dealing with issues of overcrowding. By the way, as a department, we are happy. Really, we are not complaining about overcrowding, Ananias, because it shows that as the department, especially these black learners, it means that we have reduced dropouts from school. It means that now people are starting to have interest in education. It means that we are producing more learners now. That is why we are experiencing overcrowding. So as much as a challenge, as a positive sign to say that indeed we are doing something about these dropouts of these particular learners. Tebogo raised the issue. I think it was addressed by Ntate Viola, the learner special needs. I think you were covered by the issue of learner special needs. What are the interventions in helping the learner barriers and so on? But in issue of service delivery protests, you did indicate as the MEC during our makotlas, even our exco. Exco is where there's a premier and all the MECs where we are dealing with issues of service delivery, where we are dealing with our performance and so on. I must indicate that consistently, so I've been raising those particular challenges, because as a department, in most instances, we are victims. You'll find communities are protesting about water, which is something but they know for them to draw attention and so on. So they are trying as EXCO, especially the affected departments, in terms of speeding up those particular processes. And most important thing, what I encourage with my MECs is to say that they must open that policy, open door policy, where these community members are able to engage with them directly before they can even protest. Because that is how I'm surviving now as the MEC. That is why I'm not saying I don't have challenges. I do have challenges, but they are minimal because of the approach. But we'll continue to do that. But at least appreciation must be given to our community members. It's only one incident. And this other school around that particular area, and so on. But the rest across the country, across the province, for the very first time in history, we encountered only one incident. And it happened after learners ba etsa go kwala their examination when we were supposed to transport the scripts to the centers. That's where we experienced that particular challenge. Then another issue, it was the issue of children forced to do Afrikaans. I must remind my honorable journalist that, remember, Bella Bill, it has been adopted. It's no longer a bill now, it's an act. But for now, the president did indicate that for only 3 sections, where he allows that there must be continuous engagement regarding that particular 3 sections. And when you look at those particular sections, one of the sections, the language policy. E leng gore e re fa powers as the Department of Education to say that here in Swartregens there's one school, e leng gore the police language, because the people who are empowered in terms of language policy is the SGBs. Through Bella Bill now, it gives the HOD powers to make her or his determination to say that as much as your language policy, you have concluded that you are doing Afrikaans, as the department, based on the needs, it can't be correct that there are learners who are walking long distances to other schools, whereas bafeta skolo sele mote mole. So we are saying that you must also include English and Setswana. So by doing that, it is going to be balanced. So unfortunately for now, we can't enforce that particular section until the president now finalize those particular 3 sections. So we must allow them a space to do those particular engagements. But President, even last week, if I'm not mistaken, he did issue out a statement to say that now we are reaching that particular point where we have to conclude based on the 3 sections. So I'm hopeful for maybe next year, then it will assist us in making sure that now we intervene where your child is not forced actually to do Afrikaans, rather to do the language or comfortable kayon. The issue of meriting, the former teacher. Yes, indeed, we moved the grade 12s as part of intervention from Miriti Secondary School to Swartregens. The question was, what about the internal grades? There were interventions in place where we hired 4 armed security guards in that particular school. And you are right about the issue of infrastructure. In terms of fencing there is not in good conditions. That is why I instructed as part of interventions that infrastructure must go there. I think they've started because we did introduce the contractor, he's on site in Miriti Secondary where they are erecting that security fence. And below that security fence, it's got only other fences. In it, to a point, this gangs, they don't access a school premises. So those are the interventions. But still, those 4 armed security guards. There was another video that was trending on Facebook to say that the very same gang, actually now the numbers have increased forcefully. They've managed to gain entrance in that particular school where they vandalized actually the admin block. So we have reported the issue. As the department, we have opened a case against those boys. We hope that through this approach, we'll get assistance from SAPS. But from our side, we are erecting that particular fence. Come next year, I don't think they will be able to access school premises. Outside, unfortunately, we don't have control over it. But as a public representative, it's also my responsibility of making sure that our communities are safe. This particular issue, it must be also discussed at the level of EXCO. Hare kgona go discuss the issue of Stilfontein, the issue of Miriti, because it raises so many concerns and baya bana ba rona in danger. Lone, it must really get the necessary attention, because if we leave it like that, really will not assist the situation. But let me tell you something. Remember, I did indicate we had our community meetings generally with the community members and parents, only to discover that there is no such, there is a tribalism in that particular area. Why I'm saying this, from our engagements, we have realized that actually it's gangsterism. Because you look at the grouping sale, same group is saving your Botswanas and the very same Xhosas. So why ba khona go nna mo grouping e one ya gang? Be ba go lwantsha ba bang. Ba ba lwantshang bao ha ba lwantshe only the Xhosas. Ke the Tswanas and the Sothos and the Xhosas. That is why I reached a conclusion for this is just an excuse. Because initially they raised an issue ya gore it started balwela dijo mo lining. Then I did my own investigations to check gore a mme go ra gore ga re fe bana dijo tse di enough, that's why ba di lwela. From my investigations, the report was very clear to say that no, these learners, they get enough food, but go na le element of bullying. There are those ba le gore ba tsena ba tla go a ko pele ga line. And go a ko pele ga line, therefore e forsa gore ba lwane le ba bang ba e be nna yone that particular bullying. But most importantly, se ke se boneng ke gore from there go na le other learners who were expelled from that particular school. Ba irang bana ba engage le bone from outside. Gore at least ba kgone go overpower these other ones. But I'll check the groupings is the Tswanas and the Xhosas. Ha gona group of the Xhosas and the Tswanas. That's where I realized gore fa there is a problem. There's no such as tribalism in that particular school. You raised an issue of admission challenges where you are indicating gore there are higher possibilities and allegations to say that in different schools go na le di gore kiswa di admissions. Tla bo le mo lining ya ona mo lining o le number 20 ya o sentse ro tsena gate go tsene number 30. Such things we are experiencing such, we have been receiving such as a department, and we will continue to investigate. And it's something that we don't have control over until Ragu the online system. Because through online you are able to track. But but we are doing investigations. It's not like we are not paying attention to that. And we are cautioning those officials out there to say that that thing is illegal what they are doing. So if maybe unfortunately as a department only on the wrong, will be left with no choice but to go through proper processes of disciplinary processes. So we caution and we encourage the parents, if badi bona they must not be afraid to approach us, because corruption is something that we are not going to tolerate as the Department of Education. There were issues of building a university in Buchanala. Unfortunately now I MEC and I basic education, higher education, but your concern is noted. I agree we are one government. Now is my responsibility to engage with the relevant Deputy Minister and the Minister to say that there is this particular plea from our people to say that there is a need for a university, and then everything sitting. So Rekopa, please, if you can come, because unfortunately we don't have MEC for higher institution. We are having fella for basic education. But I'll engage. Maybe through my engagement something will come up positive. Overcrowding, what is the criteria? Bana, Sabudula Mopelecha, Bafokeng, secondary school, for example, or Tlelaki space, other learners from other areas given background space. I don't have control over that. Remember the parents, banale this issue, ya gore le bone ba change the address. So how will I know for this particular parent? But the criteria, eri dirisang normally, eri encouraging. Ke gore prioritize those who are around that particular area. Because how about prioritize? Issue ya late coming, e kgona go kwa class. Issue ya gore ngwana now we are forced gore tla ka di scholar transport e ya kwa class. So those are the challenges that re nang le tsone, but ya ka o tlhalositse, we'll try to encourage our officials to do what is right. Results on newspapers, Popia is very clear. That is why from where I'm sitting, unless if there's another new information, what I know is that the results will be publicized on different newspapers. But this time, unlike before, where o tla bo targetile Viola, Motsumi, le di neighbors, ha o yo go sheba ngwana ga go sheba ngwanake mo di newspapering. Rather, ba resotile to issue, rather put the exam numbers without having your ID numbers together with the names of the candidates. So it's going to be very difficult for you, unless you let the candidate, because the candidate knows his or her exam number. So that's where unless if there's anything new from the minister, because this is a competency, national. They are the ones who are in charge of the results. Right now we don't have that. The issue Maje, regarding the issue that he has raised, unfortunately the issue is sub judice. It is under investigation. O bakeng, o batla go compromise, o batla ke kubiwe. I can't disclose that information now. It's early for me to disclose that information. After follow processes, remember the very same learners. Some of them, they are minors. So immediately, like, go start primary school. We start primary school. We want to know the principal. Tell us what is the candidate and everything. So we are protecting the learners together with the principals. So arne patient then along the way, obviously, like Rivilo, that information will be shared once we have exhausted all the processes that needs to be exhausted. You are right, Jakes, illegal schools, what I know, in terms of hotlines, already we do have a fraud and corruption hotline. I think what we have to do is to capitalize on that, because illegal is corruption and it's fraud, it's illegal. So we'll definitely take your advice. When I go batla ko officing yaka, anka nna le wena ko officing yaka, nka shine man. You are very progressive. You are giving us ideas. That's what we want from our journalists, to give us ideas and advices, because we are not perfect. Alone we can't make it, but together we believe that we can do more. Kanya, homeschooling, I believe that it was addressed by Ntate Viola. So those are the questions, colleagues. Thank you very much. I believe that I've addressed all the questions. Thank you.
Right, where is Tebogo seated? The one who asked about ADHD. He left. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm just then delaying a bit. The Honorable MEC wants us to correct the release of results. Will be on the 13th of January at National. At DB, in other, the minister will release the results on the 13th. Then the MEC in Klerksdorp will release the results on the 14th. I so wish Remalindi was in. Is it Remalindi or the MEC? Because so changing. Well, Tebogo is not here, but we can respond to that question on ADHD issue. Maybe for those of you who do not know, the issue, the ADHD is attention deficit hyperactive disorder. A learner who has an attention deficit hyperactive disorder does not concentrate for long. He concentrates just for maybe 5 minutes here, then he moves to another area, and that learner needs more supervision and more attention. Now, how do we as a department assist? There are 32 special schools in the province. And our special schools, I did not bring along the list in terms of the disability in the special schools. But then there are various disabilities in those special schools. But there are other learners who are attached to our other schools which are not special schools, your ordinary public school. So how do we then intervene there? We have a policy known as SIAS. SIAS stands for Screening, Identification, Assessment, and Support. Now, many times the teachers may pick up from a learner that this learner does not behave in a usual manner. And they then start to refer the learner through the SBSTs, your school-based support teams. And then ultimately it ends up getting attention. Now, on the ADHD issue, what we must know is that we then apply for exemption. And Remoreng is here with us, I think outside the meeting, he may even elaborate more on that. And this learner is given a concession. For instance, if for instance, the learner is in a position such that he is slow or he will need to get a break and so on, maybe they will say, instead of the learner spending 2 hours on the paper, that is a 2-hour paper, let us give the learner extra 15 minutes or extra 30 minutes, depending on what was applied for. Now, learners of ADHD, we normally use what is known as a prompter. I don't know if you heard about a prompter before. A prompter is an instrument that makes the child concentrate. For instance, maybe after 20 minutes or maybe after 45 minutes, it may shake a bit. So the learner then sort of wakes up from the sleep, because this learner loses concentration, and from time to time that prompter will then move, and then as it moves, the learner wakes up and realizes, I'm busy here. But we don't have those instruments. So what we do, we then use the prompter being the person. So if Remoreng has given a concession on this learner, the school knows that this learner is a learner of ADHD. They then take an extra educator to sit with the learner as the learner writes. What you do, you remove the learner from the group of other learners, and this learner may then write in an office. Then you place a teacher. The teacher may sit in front of the learner. They explain to the learner that I'm here to assist you to focus, to make you concentrate, and we will also assist you in terms of the structure of the paper and in terms of the time that you must spend. So in other words, maybe after 10 minutes, the teacher may say, are you still okay? You are fine. If you can spend maybe another 5 minutes on that question. So the learner is kept sort of awake, but it assists that the learner must concentrate. We call that a prompter. Even the prompter can become a person. And normally we use that to assist the learner who has been identified through that CS policy to be having the attention deficit high disorder. You know, I think that's how low I want to go. I don't want to confuse you and go deeper than this.
Thank you, Doc. I think now we will just take the very, very last round of questions. I see my panel, it's a little bit tired now. I see a hand of Ananias, even Lila Moruta Banawarona. Kana kimang my brother, Resekera Moruta Banawarona. Okay, I go to Otabu House at Otere Mike. Okay, yes, Kawona Rorisang. I think this will be the last questions. In fact, today we are just available for you. So I'm sure we have done everything. You could see for each and every question, MEC and the fellow panel, they are trying their level best to answer them as much as possible. But we are available. We are still going to have a second session whereby our DDGs will just be indicating what is it that they are doing in their different branches. So maybe that is where you will get more of the information on the issue that Reteboho asked earlier. Yeah, I see there are only 3 hands now. So that is why I want to check thoroughly that you are all covered. Ne? So that when I close, there's no one who will complain to say, hey, but go Department of Education. You know, there's that group, hey, my brother, we don't talk like that here. So wait us in the Rendlov. Baskar, at that group, Rendlov, we wanted to ask questions and Babaret Kaula ko education. So you see, as I'm prolonging, I'm just trying to give you a chance to come up with questions, but it's clear there are no questions. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Malindi. Yeah, we need discipline more the WhatsApp group. If you are not disciplined, only admin. Yeah, thanks. Ananias Ndlovgape from Naledi News. First question, MEC. I think already this thing, the illegal schools, will dominate every round of questions. I hear you when you say you want to help them to register. That I'm comfortable with. But there are scammers. Deliberate scammers. But what I'm chelete ya batsadi ba ba isokollang, ya bana ba ba sokotse ba etsa deliberately. I confronted one school, MEC. And these guys, I'm sorry to say this, but most of them, you will find out they are foreign nationals. I've approached one guy from Uganda. The school says Cape Town City College. Upakile koloi mo Rustenburg. Ka address ya ko Pretoria, 15 Core Street, Sunnyside. Ka phone number ya mo Rustenburg is 014. Branded. So what are these guys? They are just doing as they please. Because Skolo Sir Cape Town, address Pretoria, phone number Rustenburg. And offerable engineering, the costs are the minute. So, MEC, because one thing I've realized when I investigate these stories, they will register with the department one course, boiler making, and they will offer the rest. They use that number on the certificate, on whatever poster they are giving out. Or we are registered with the Department of Education, got this number. But boiler making, other things they will do, but journalism, but marketing, but everything. They are not registered, but tourism about. So I'm urging with the department, MEC, if you can take this matter close, department. I don't know if you have a unit or a department that deals with this issue. You will save money. You will save because after register more these schools. So if you have a unit or a department or anything or someone who specifically deal with issue illegal schools, maybe MEC, the second question issue technology. I will always ask you this question. If I get an opportunity to ask you a question. Northwest, how ready, how prepared to move with technology? So if we don't start them there, go primary, technology, what are we saying to our kids? Technology is a very close subject to me, MEC. And I remember in 2012, Mr. Malindi Floroka, most government communicators, when I told them in 2012, guys, your principals need Facebook pages. And they laughed at me. But Nakana Fela Mayara or MEC Facebook page. That was 2012. But today they all have those pages. Because by then, 8 years back, 8 years moving forward, from 2012 to 2020, all the departments and municipalities were now having Facebook pages. So it took them 8 years to realize that Facebook is important. This is what we are doing as well, the technology, the 4IR, the artificial intelligence. Not taking it to the schools on a primary level. So I just want to check with the department, are you taking this matter technology seriously? So, because somebody the broadband, we are not internet ready, Northwest, data, and out, guys. How can check? Look, WhatsApp. And WhatsApp use a smartphone. You cannot use WhatsApp on a smartphone. So it means Northwest they can use smartphone. If they can use smartphone, it means they can use technology. So why can't we take that serious? And the last one, MEC, I know Mr. Valindi ke issue e leng hore ga re bua MEC wa itse ke yona, and I will always say it, issue ya support ya department. Yeah, issue ya support mo departmenting. I must say, re Malindi I buang mo groupung e leng hore fortunately ke admin mo yona. Re kile ra discuss the department, and ba re na le soft spot for the Department of Education. No, the Department of Education, we must say bravo to the communication team because they communicate. Sometimes one runs now the metric writing countdown. People will talk to me, go to Mara, why are you allowing the metric countdown more grouping? And we said, no, we'll allow that because now I don't know what you want today. But as a radio presenter, if I see that thing, ke content. It will tell, oh, today Bangwala English, Bangwala, and you inform the community. So let them come every day. But no, Department of Education is overcrowding the group. So, but it's because of they are communicating. I'm saying the way they communicate, Mr. Malinda and MEC, must communicate like the advert, just like that. The way that communication is like your MEC will attend every press briefing you conduct. So, we know how they do support us, they do give us advice, but we are saying, I like Ntongele. I'll give one thing, Mr. Machota. I like this thing, how to announce the results. That booklet is very important, and it's only given to us as media, and it tells a lot. When the newspaper, the advert, the radio, to break down how Northwest performed the metric results. It can help because in a lady, excuse my language, MEC, assist me the colors the quantum in quantine quintal what the quintal from that document we learn quintal so. But if we know as journalists and we keep the information on ourselves, we are not doing justice to the community we serve. If you give us the information, you pay for that information, we give it to the community, they learn. Because as a journalist, so lastly, MEC issue Friday is the Northwest Media Awards. This Friday, and more programming. So, Nekere, team, they are all invited.
Thank you, Rendlovu. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe it will just depend. The MEC is also having another engagement where she is going to rush to, but there are other managers who are here to answer some of the questions that we have raised. So don't feel otherwise when it happens, that time comes for the MEC to leave us. So, but we can continue, sure.
Melam Bakolo Hape, Ken Narorisam from Sechao. Ke worry thata MEC ka inequality ne ko dikolong tsa rona, especially ka infrastructure. Ke tsene ko motseng from preschool ne di bizwa ya lo ke sa itse gona no ba re ke di ECD until ke complete go high school. So infrastructure was always a problem because when you compare the infrastructure e leng go di urban and many townships you will find out hore those kids are enjoying much benefits than their counterparts go the rural areas. Whereby you will find out they would have science labs, computer labs. Komotseng we just read on the book hore there's something called a USB hardware computer, but physically we have never seen that. My question is that what are the plans to address that kind of a gap between the rural schools, the dealing underprivileged, the urban schools? Ke a leboha.
Okay, thank you. Menier,
All right, Master Malindi, ke go itse tota. Leina la ka ke Molonta John Pelwan.
all right.
Yes, MEC, maloba batho ba sasana ba patelwa ka di-van. Go ntshiwa madi go duela tlaro tsa wa tshotse tlaro wa gae, wa tshotse mo kgatleng ya kgetsi ya gago. Go etogile gompieno ana ba tshotse dikarata ba swipe. Yaanong ga ke utlwa re Anania sa botsa ke tshoga tota gore a re ka sampe re ka botsa ka dio tsewa tsa gore re santse re le ha re palla ke go dira dilo digital mo bokone bo phirima mare bagolo ya rona basadi ba golo bo utata le bo mama ba khone go swipe ke kgannye nngwe ke a tlogela isia mo nkutlwile yaanong go le kgannye nngwe botlhokwa mo polekeng ya bitseng ba re ke tlhabane e ne le toropa Rustenburg kgale yaanong go le sekolo se bitsa go tekera one sipping high sekolo se se shela ha ke tsoro a wa ka sone le sone ke utlwile gore o tshotse matsapa ke rata ka mokgwa o berekang ka teng you are best suited for that job. May the good Lord richly bless you on that, because ke utlwile go to ba tshotse gape gore e bile le skela wa ra sekolo se se shele batho ba ba seo na ba le ko senteng ya go kwala be ke re I'm applauding that ka re se sentle thata but se shela ke tse gore pro go tsamaya ka because ke tshoga kganya gore January ke kgwedi e tlang ke la re batho ba ithaba re January e kgakala go se tsela malatsi e be re tsena mo January ke ipotsa gore sekolo seo how ready are we ka sekolo sa re wa Disipeng High because ke high school e motho go ga bo LD Matshego mo le ke dikolo tsotlhe di heletse mo plekeng eno se go tlhabane now ke ipotsa gore how ready are we ka sekolo se ka gore bana tshwantse ba ya sekolong go shile go simola go godimo ke dikolo tse di agiwang maloba ke mo ga go tswele ba ka se re mangwe pe mo malobeng fa tse di tsa di double store ya no di shile go tloga go godimo go ga go tlhase e siame ke a tlogela eo ke nagana gore o tla nkarabela yone a kitse ke tshoga tota rra o bua ka USB nna tla ke go bolela story se se botlhoko santse rena bokone bo phirima ke a itse gore mo sedika sa rona se sa bojanala se se tona tla ke bua fela ka masepala wa Moses Kotane o na le over 108 villages over e be re santse re na le dikolo tse go tengwana ga itse gore PC go tawa eng ga itse gore laptop go tawa eng ga itse gore gompieno ga go dire PDF go tawa eng ke ra hela go tlhalosa se mono a se buang a bua ka USB ne ke re hela USB sampele nyane ka gore ke santse se se nyane tota mare gompieno go founela motho mo ra ntirele email ya ba gore a re ke tlhokotla go toropong ya Rustenburg ke go sendela ke kutlo botlhoko ke ra gore eo ke bua ka kutlo botlhoko tota gore santse rena dikolo tse di senang se se bitsa go the computer center gompieno yana ke so se se shwabisang hela ke le nosi gore a mme kganya 4th industrial revolution a re mo go yone kgotsa yang ka gore already se te re atumela 5th industrial revolution yaanong ke bua se ke se kriyang mare yaanong ke tlhaloganya gore ha ke re industrial go bokete go tsaya motho wa le China bo mmagale motho wa mo bokone bo phirima a bua setlhaping a le hale o bore ngwana ke ne ke re o itsuru ntirele ya mo computer ko ba o ntirele app ya WhatsApp o msendele message ka computer o e dira hela ka phone ke a heta for MEC ya no kganya uniform e thata le one ke go pa go itse gore kganya uniform ha o tswa go sekolong se sengwe ba go admitile be le gore ga o tla ka uniform e ya gago ya go tswang go teng o itlela batho ba black o bo tla ka red and white go fiwa le baka le le kae gore ngwana a apare a ngwana ka gana go sekolong ka gore wa apere e red yana kwa tswang go teng mare sekolo sa apara black and white ke a heta mo go eo
goroga ya
ke a goroga
Goroga ge,
ke a goroga right ne ke nagana gore MEC gongwe a ka tshwara le mo kganyeng ya food poisoning because ke a tshwenya ke bona ka re Gauteng ke yone e tabogileng thata ka di food poisoning yaanong re ipotsa gore ka re bana ba sekolo ba involved mo gone re ipotsa gore a ka se e kgominyana re tle re utse gore re sireletsegile go le kana kang ke ra gore bana ba rena ko dikolong ga ntse go te dijo di a isiwa ka gore go na le dilo tse go teng ke di-subcontract ba tla ko ba jesa bana re malindisi ke lo nkutlwa re ke bua dintlha go fa re malindisi
a bone ke re gorogenyana
ora tle ke tlogele fa ba gaetso ke akanya gore e siame ga e ntse jaana ke na gore e bogelo ke gore ke utla gote dikolo di a bula ke itumela tota go tla kgameng ke ganyesa ya ha o heta go ha o ya go morokong kwana go tsena go sekolong se sa go tswa go ke itumela go na le sekolo ko ke lo back go morokong ko ke lo back mare go siame MEC mpolele gore mo 100% teng la re dikolo di a go bula mpolele gore a matitšhere a teng a heletse matitšhere jaanong ba tswile ba ya go dikgwebong mpolele gore a ke ka matitšhere a heletse le infrastructure le buang ka yone e siame gore bana ba ya go dikolong tse go buang ka tsone gote di a go bulwa re batla go di bona re tla be re le gone re a leboga
re molanta re a leboga ebile re tlo go tseya re go tsenya mo sekolong se sengwe o tlatseletse dipalopalo tsa barutabana ka gore yeah, I think only wena wa bofelo so far re tla be re tsweletse this segment of questions eba re lebogang moeng bana it's a legend kwa mmega dikgang moya wa the owner of the newspaper re Aaron Maleke o fetsa gore tlogela mo bekeng tse malwanyana tse di fitileng re lebogang moeng o bereka le ena o tsene setse re tswala ra re go fa tšhono.
Let me apologize to the panel and everybody for being late for the first time. It's unlike me, but we know we are not in Mahikeng and I'm using public transport. MEC, when we were at the disaster management, I heard you touching something very, very important with regard to teaching in mother tongue. So I was waiting for this opportunity to come and interrogate the statement. I just need to know, as a former educator yourself, how is it going to be easily implemented so that it can conform to global economic world? I'm going to make an example. My former premier in the Free State, Ismakashule, once said to Beijing, he said, it's important that our kids must be taught Mandarin because our government is doing a lot of business with China, India, Cuba, and other countries. So I just need you to simplify to my readers, how is it going to be easily implemented? And then my second question, MEC, I've observed that today's learners are more reliant on artificial intelligence when they do their homework, when they do their assignments, their projects. They are more reliant on AI, no creativity from the learner. And I have many friends who are educators, and I always engage them, ask them, how do you distract the learner from not being relying on artificial intelligence? And then my other question that I want to present to you, it's about a school very close to my heart in Ramatlabama. The recently retired headmaster there, Mr. Kotsi, was very highly qualified as far as the history subject is concerned. But I was always on his case that if you are so much highly qualified, why is history not being offered at your school? Are we saying the kids must be denied the background of this country and other countries globally? Because me, myself, and I, Malindi can tell you, I have a symbol A in history. And history is very close to my heart. So if it's not offered at a school that I have a soft spot for, it's a concern to me as a parent and also as a journalist.
What is that school?
Batlong High School. Mr. Trace from there as well. And then, MEC, I also observed that 3 years back, kids were provided with tablets at schools. But I don't see it happening now. I'm not sure what led to the situation. I think Tifelafu, Tialebo.
All right, no, re lebogang moeng. Ke tshepa gore ga ra go gatelela ra. Yeah, but re itumela. So I believe everybody is satisfied with all the questions that have been raised. But we want to thank you for this session, for your participation and so on. So we are now going to hand over to our panel, our principals to respond to that. Then after that, we'll be breaking for lunch. Then after lunch, we'll just be coming on a social level where it's a media networking session. So that if you want to ask some questions to Dr. Viola, you heard that is representing another branch. I know it has a very long surname. He will also explain it. I don't want to be found guilty by not mentioning it correctly. So that is that type of the session that we are going in. So Lina, you are free also to ask me questions. We are here to answer you. So over to the panel, to the MEC. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Let me appreciate the questions. I believe that this is the last round. Remalind, thank you. The first question, it was in relation with the issue of technology. Colleagues, number one, I must indicate that as the Department of Education, we do have a good story to tell. Maybe our weakness is not to tell that particular good story. And that's where we are lacking. We have to start now as the department to improve in terms of communication, so that you are able to know what the department is doing and what our successes are. Because the issue of technology, as much as we are predominantly rural as a province, but I can attest before all the journalists before us to say that we have registered a huge progress in terms of taking this issue of technology serious, especially at the level of primary schools, because it seems like we have been focusing mainly on our secondary schools. So we have taken a decision that we have to balance. We need that foundation phase. Without that foundation phase, I don't think we will ever get the good results. So that's where we are investing. I must indicate that as the Department of Education, all the schools, all new built schools, we made sure that in terms of specification, in terms of the design, because initially, Remangope and others, before 30 years of democracy, there are many schools, especially in rural areas, still they don't have science labs, they don't have computer labs, they don't have libraries. But since 30 years of democracy, I can attest that most of our schools, all the new built schools, they do have science labs and computer labs. Furthermore, I must indicate that we are partnering with mines, especially in Bujanala, where specifically they've been assisting us in terms of building science labs in different schools and also computer labs in different schools. And then when you go to primary schools, I must indicate to show that we are taking this issue of technology serious. That is why at the level of GET, when you talk of GET, you are talking from your grade R to your grade 9. We have introduced coding and robotics. It's part of technology. As much as it's a pilot project, as much as we have sampled close to more than 300 schools across the province, but we did introduce that coding and robotics as one of our strategies of introducing technology at the primary level or at the foundation level. And we have also indicated, we have also introduced digital technology as a subject in our primary schools, unlike before, which is linked to your IT and your CAT. So the other thing that I must mention, last year officially we launched an app in Dr. RSM, and we know that Dr. RSM is considered as rural district, dominated by villages and so on, whereby that particular app, we made sure a caterer for issue ya if there's an issue regarding issue ya ngwana, We don't have to call a parent. Gore a tle mo sekolong, a tle go utlwa gore what are the issues. We can communicate whatever through that particular app with the parents. There's an issue also at the homeworks. Ke yone ke batlang go e checka gore is it catered, because I was very clear to say that if ngwana ko Kuro o kgona go fiwa homework ka that app e ba e dirisang, and then the parent o kgona go access gore a itse gore ngwana o file homework efe. The same applies to these public ordinary schools in villages, le bone. Even though we are going to encounter challenges whereby those particular learners, most of them, ba setse le bagolo ba rona. Bagolo ba rona, they don't even know how to use the smartphones, but them, they know how to use the smartphones. So that's how far we are taking the issue of technology very serious. 2 months back, we collaborated, we partnered with CELC here in Muruleng, where they have built a computer lab for that particular primary school. And it's not only CELC. There are many other companies and other stakeholders across the province. Ntse ba invited to say that MEC, rona rele CELC kapa rele eng, a ke batla go advertiser, rele company e rileng. Re bone go le mosola gore re identify le sekolo, and then they identify schools tse leng gore they are in rural areas where they are now starting to build the computer labs. Ko le gore ngwana ha tsena mo teng mo na le experience ya a laptop. Ha so re dirisa di computer ya no bagolo. Le sentana gore re na le ma 1980s 1970s ko tlase kwa. Ya no re mo di laptop wa se re le mo di computereng. So ke tsone di science labs and also computer labs tse leng gore as a department ra di dira. Last year re make sure gore re provide all the schools across the province ka the routers, and we did it deliberately, because before you go to the learners, you have to start capacitating and resourcing the very same educators. It can't be correct that by now an educator is unable to access email or is unable to go to Google because of lack of resources. So through the Department of Education, all the schools, they do have routers. We know in terms of the strength, it's not that powerful, but it's something as an initiative to show that we are taking this issue of technology to another level. So we're still going to continue to engage, because we don't have money, to engage with the municipalities and other departments that deals with technology and communication to check how best can they assist us in making sure, rather than having the routers, rather have the Wi-Fi, so that strong each and every learner access our internet. I've received a letter from the Department of Science and Technology. It was 2 weeks back, that day, Mvola, if I'm not mistaken. They were very clear to say that we must identify more than 20 schools in deep rural areas where they will be able to donate laptops to those particular schools. So through that particular assistance, also it will assist us as a Department of Education to show that indeed we are taking these things very serious. The issue here, the tablet, we are still providing our schools with tablets. Molanto. Okay, Remueng. Yeah. We are still providing, consistently so providing our schools with the tablets. Our grade 12s, for them to access curriculum content, they are being given tablets. They are accessing that particular content through tablets. That is why during incubation, I was very clear to say that in that particular tablets, they will access online classes. They access those particular online classes through tablets. The challenge that we are encountering as the Department of Education is battler. Most of our tablets are being stolen almost every day, but we are trying our level best for the issue of safety. The other challenge that we are having is the mentality of the parents. Now the grade 12s are done with their examinations. I know that the retrieval is going to be a problem. They are going to refuse actually to return those particular tablets. They will tell you what these tablets belongs to their learners. When we bought them for those particular learners. Therefore, it means that they're entitled to have them, not understanding that we are still having learners. They are supposed to have the very same tablets, because we don't have enough money to buy tablets each and every year. There are going to be stories to say that the learners, they've lost those particular tablets. The very same journalists will be publicizing us to say that we actually refusing to give this particular parents reports. We are taking this particular parents to court. We are harassing parents. So those are the challenges. That is why instead of moving forward, removal. And in Gauteng, you will never encounter these particular challenges. Those parents, they know those particular resources specifically is for the Department of Education, and they must return them without being forced to return them. Because it can't be all about ngwana gago because when you feditse o gana ka tablet. E o nka betšha ka life aka. Santsane re provide bana ba rona ka di-tablet. If go na le any school e leng gore ga se provide ka di-tablet, re kopa that particular information to check how best can we intervene in that regard. Because all learners, go buile ka issue ya inequality, all learners must be treated equally. And when it comes to support, they must be provided with the same support. There was issue of inequality. Inequality in our schools, especially infrastructure, to close that gap between rural schools and your urban schools. We are trying our level best. That is why all the schools that I've pronounced here, where they are located deep into rural areas. There's a school in Ratlo, ko go Kgosi, ke Kgosi Mangan. Ke bang? Ya se Kgosi Letaba. Yeah, there's a poi, yeah. Agar, yeah, gra Kgosi poi. Ke Kgosi poi o nele o to ke Kgosi e tona. Ko Rustenburg sekolo teng o tla iponela le wena ke hagare ga motse. Ko Maretsane ko wa 10. There is a new school by the name of Batho. How kaya go you'll never imagine gore re ka nna le sekolo se sentsenyana mo motseng. Not to say that ra nyatsa. I'm showing you that we are trying our level best to close that particular gap. Whereby lona re ipele ko re tswang teng. Ko re tšhentšheng selebo sa gore ko re tswang teng le teng re kgone go ka close that particular gap. So we are trying our level best, colleagues, in making sure that we address these particular issues. Rawani Secondary School, Remakwela, did we introduce a contractor there in Rawani Secondary School, the school that says Malobafa? So I'll get responses from, because you are right, we must prepare now, not next year. So if there is any appointments, it must be done now. That contractor must be told, please ask about our holidays in December. That particular gap so that particular school is ready for next year. The issue of school uniform, there is a reason behind school uniform. It's for identification. Something, whether one means or young, secondary school. So I know it's fine. Or school uniform. But neru encourage us no. And we have to also understand psychologically why now I'm wearing red and white, whereas my fellow learners, classmates are wearing black and white. So indirectly, so we are affecting that particular learner psychologically. So let us try to close that particular gap. How not the challenge is serious? We are here as the Department of Education. Rona, our profession is a calling. A teacher can buy a uniform for a learner. It's your responsibility because you are also a parent to that particular learner. Find ways. That is why each and every year, I make sure that you donate that. I make sure that I encourage other stakeholders in making sure because at the end, so as much as food poisoning, we released a circular like Gauteng, where we were pleading with the parents especially. Even though we experienced some minor incidents, it's 2 or 3, unlike Gauteng, but those incidents, actually, they've opened our eyes. We have to do something. We don't have to wait for 10 or 20 or 1 learner to die. Then from there is only when we are acting. We have released a circular. That circular was very clear and straightforward, where we are pleading with the parents, number one, gore ba avoided this thing of them, of giving their children pocket money. Because these children, ba ira eng, ba reka ko di tuck shop. And we don't have control over that. Ha ba tswa gae le that distance between the school and the tuck shops. So re ikopela ka bojotlhe. So far, Rona, as the department, we never encounter any challenges where there are issues regarding our NSNP at all. Tse ntse diragala ko bo Gauteng and everything. It was only lately that these issues at the tuck shop. And we must remember the issue of hawkers. Le bone la o ka roba Kuba, there's high rate of unemployment. That mother, that grandmother, that granny, o dependa mo go rekiseng di sweets tseo le everything. So re ka se kra ba koba immediately, but if you are forced gore re ba kope because safety ya bana e tla pele before anything, we'll do that. But by parents supporting us by not giving these children chelet, ga gona tuck shop e pele gore ka fa ngwana dilo mahala. So there was a circular. When we are reopening, as the MEC, I'm going to collaborate with the relevant MEC of COSATMA and also DDECT, whereby we'll be visiting neighboring tuck shops to check issues of compliance, or whether those particular tuck shops are compliant or not. Indeed they are compliant. And the president has issued out also a statement regarding the registration that is very important, that each and every tuck shop must register. And then if it is not registered, it means that we must close those particular tuck shops. So we don't want to get in that field because it's not our field, but unfortunately our learners are the ones who are affected. And the issue ya Batlong Secondary School, history as subjects. Rona as the department, we are a democratic department where we are giving powers to the SGBs together with the educators and the principals. If they want to change the curriculum meaning the issues of subjects, if they feel they want to do history, it is also their responsibility of making sure that they inform us, and Tina, what we are going to do, we are definitely going to give them all the necessary support because they are entitled to decide in terms of the subject. But I get your point. You are right, and I'm in agreement with you. Actually, issue ya agriculture. We have to find ways that this particular subject are compulsory because it is very important for our learners to know where they come from. And when we talk of the issue of history, it can't be correct in that we are still talking about Boyan van Riebeck. We have to face reality and reclaim history in the current politics of South Africa, because each and every child must be a politician. Because if you are not a politician, how are you going to control the country? So it is very important for us as a department to empower these particular children at a very early stage. Where do they come from? It's only issue of culture. Because of the reason why like this thing gangsterism, high rate of pregnancy, and these other ugly things, it is because our children actually they have forgotten where they come from. Not forgotten per se. They don't know actually. They don't have a background. They don't understand their roots. So by introducing those particular subjects, I'm in support. By introducing those particular subjects, indeed it will assist us as the department. So we'll start to check how best, Sister Boss, in terms of processes, because there must be process that needs to be followed. Within the ambit of law, we are doing something contrary to saying basically, that is my response. Progress so far in terms of renovating that particular school. I'll hand over to Remakwela. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thank you, Honorable MEC and members of media. In terms of Rauane, in terms of Rauane, we had to provide an immediate intervention. We have already placed orders for the 8 mobiles that they indicated that should be able to assist them, admin block and the ablution block. We have also finalized the appointment of management contractors. We'll be signing the framework on Thursday, and work will be allocated to the contractor who will be renovating or working on the particular school. Thank you. Re lebogile mokhuduthamaga. Ke solofela dipotso tsotlhe di arabilwe. But go na le tse tharo tse ke di boneng ba di botsa mo mafaratlhatlheng mo. Ga ke itse panel ya ka botsamaisi bo reng ka tsona. Nka di bala fela doc ka bokhutswanyana. Go na le Kutlwano Masibi. He says, how is the department intending to deal with wastage that is associated with closure of schools that have been built, essential infrastructure such as S&P kitchens, set of ablution facilities, amongst others? Are there any plans to disassemble those that could and redirect them to other schools? The second question says, in keeping up with the safe and secure schools, how much has been set aside for clear view fencing for our schools in the next financial year? The third one is, are there plans in place from a skills development point of view to submit a business plan to PCETA for internship opportunities of qualified unemployed graduates who possesses teaching qualification with an intention of easing the financial burden that schools have to fathom with when sourcing the services of these graduates who aren't covered by norms and standards for funding? Then this last one is question for MEC. The department launched the mother tongue event last month at Seasons in Mahikeng, where it was revealed that instructions for critical subjects like maths and science will begin to be conducted in Setswana for grade 4 learners in the province. And this will gradually be introduced across all grades, but no time frame for implementation was provided. Therefore, I would like to know what is the time frame for the implementation of these resolutions looks like. Okay, those are the 4 questions that were asked by our colleagues, Kutlwano Masibi and Tumisang Khana Fane. So I
you would realize that as the communities grow, sometimes we even revisit the decision that we took of closing down the school, and sometimes we even reopen those schools. So unless I did not understand the question, but the colleague is free to make contact of us so that we understand clearly what he or she wanted to understand. But indeed, we closing schools on the basis of them being small or non-viable to provide curriculum. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I need to indicate that for the last 3 years, we've actually installed the security fencing in 186 schools. For this financial year, we budgeted for 80 schools at the cost of 115 million. But for the next MTF, we have also budgeted 350 to do the remaining school. So this is a program where we actually appointed manufacturers and we appoint installers in those areas within that community for installation. And manufacturer will be managing that project, and at the end of the day, they should be able to grade those installers so that they can actually progress in terms of their CIDB. Thank you.
No, thank you, Remakwela. I believe those who are following our pages, there are two. I know the other one is Tumisang, and the other one, it's just that my phone is far away. So where they are, they have received the answers that they have raised. So I believe everybody has been answered. So on that note, this is how we close our part A of our project or program. So we will now be breaking for lunch. I think we will going to meet here, whereby our 3 DDGs are just going to give you a brief of how the branches operate and so on. So you will be free to engage with them to ask questions per branch on what is it that they are doing in those branches. But it will be on a lighter note, no more at this formal way that we are having right now. But let me take time to thank you for your participation, and also to thank our senior managers who are also seated this side, and our panel.